Welcome to Ask the Expert Show, brought to you by DFW's highly respected and award-winning Shoemaker Mortgage Team, with Dallas-Fort Worth's top experts in wealth management, air conditioning repair, personal injury law, foundation repair, mortgages, family law, and much more. This is Ask the Experts here on Talk Radio 1190. Welcome to the show. What do? Well, we interview local prominent professionals on their area of expertise, of course. I'm the host of the show, Matt Cather, and joining me in studio today, great to have him back in, it's the gentleman from Ecoscape Foundation. Now, before we get to them, you can find them online at 972-210. Well, the phone number, is 972-210-1494. That's 972-210-1494. You can find them online at ecoscapefoundation.com. That's ecoscapefoundation.com. Welcome back in, Matt. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Obviously, we got Matt Burns in studio, Josh Freed as well. It's great to have you guys in. Back-to-back weeks.
Yes, sir.
A lot of information to get to.
Absolutely. We're trying to get all the information in before the end of the year and before the holidays.
How's business going?
It is still booming.
Well,
we're begging for breaks. We're not getting them. But, it is what it is. We're thankful for the business. We have some of the best customers we could ever possibly ask for.
Well, we're going to discuss a little bit of the day. I know we talked about foundations, of course, but there's a lot of things you guys do in general. I think we're going to cover a little bit of drainage stuff today. How does someone know if they have a drainage problem?
Well, I'm really glad to do the show today. Drainage is one of those things, Matt.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite. And I think it's my favorite because every single drain is different. It requires an abstract mind to really figure out the problems and solutions to everything. And I don't know, I appreciate the challenge, but how does somebody know if they have a drainage problem? I mean, there's no point in overthinking it. You got standing water. You got wet spots in the yard. When it rains real heavy, if the water is not exiting the property fast enough, it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and intervene with the drain system.
Well, and we'll kind of build off that a little bit there because I know people are going to have a lot of questions in regard to this. What type of drainage options are there if you're in that situation?
Well, there's four main types of drainage solutions. The first one is gutters. If you don't have gutters, that is step number one. But the gutters can kind of cause their own set of issues if you're not careful. So think about it like this. If you have water falling off of your house and hitting the ground versus we're sending it to the ground on an aluminum pipe, what's the difference? They're both going to cause erosion. They're both potentially going to cause standing water in certain areas. So with that being said, with gutters being number one, it's always a good idea to get gutters and think about tying the downspouts into a subterranean pipe system. What that is, it's just, a 10-foot section of pipe that you bury in the ground, and it gets the water away from the foundation. Because if you're not careful, over the years what will happen is that downspout location will cause a ton of erosion. And unfortunately, most of these downspouts are on the corner of a foundation. So in turn, you're kind of making it less stable because now all that soil's washing away over time. So gutters, number one. Number two, which is my favorite, is French drains. A lot of people think that those little plastic grates that you see at Home Depot, that's a French drain. That's actually incorrect. That's a catch basin.
Okay.
A French drain is a system. So think of like if you're at a public pool and you see that little grate next to the pool to catch the water when kids do cannonballs and things.
Correct.
That's how our French drains work, but in grass and mud. So what we do is we dig a trench. We line the trench with a soil-separating fabric. Then we put a perforated piece of PVC in the ground and encase the entire system in rock.
Interesting.
That rock gets rid of all the leaves, the dirt, anything that could float into the rocks or into the pipe system. And then that piece of soil-separating fabric that we put around keeps all the clay and nastiness out of our rock system to give us longevity in this drain system. I think the French drain is the solution 90% of the time because it's 100% maintenance-free.
Okay.
The way that we design the system, it can handle 120 gallons per minute of water.
That's impressive.
I've never seen one of these drains fail in 16 years, personally.
Wow.
Now, the one that everybody thinks is a French drain is catch basin. This is number 3. The catch basins have their place. I like to see them in concrete areas just because you can't put anything but those in concrete areas. But they have a built-in flaw. They get dirty. They catch leaves. They catch, sand, things like that. and you have to clean them out. And what I've understood is that a lot of homeowners just aren't going to do the maintenance.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's our responsibility, being the experts, to essentially steer them in a direction that we know what's going to happen in the future. Now, we've got some customers that say, this is what I want, I Googled it, and this is what I got to have. Oh, great, I'll do whatever it is you want me to do. But I always bring up, hey, if you're not going to clean out these catch basins, the best thing to do is don't even go with it, because give it 3 to 6 months, they're going to be clogged, and you just bought a drain that's doing virtually nothing.
No, that's no surprise. People kind of forget stuff like that. So that's why we call you up, explain things for us, and break it down. And to build off that, we're going to kind of explain and go into a little bit of detail what you were just talking about.
Right.
Will gutters essentially solve that problem? How does that work?
So the gutters solve the erosion problem with an exception of the downspouts.
Okay.
A big thing, though, is with gutters is installation. If they're not installed right, you can cause more problems. And the first set of problems is I've seen customers' houses where, like, you look back standing from the street and you're like, what's wrong with that gutter there? Well, the installer did not put it on correctly, and it's actually caused the trim board to rot out. So the water it would hit the back side of the gutter, and it wouldn't go into the gutter. It would leak in between the gutter and the fascia board, and next thing you know, the trim's rotted out. Well, now you just took a $2,000 or $3,000 gutter replacement and turned it into something ridiculous, because now you've got to deal with that rotted lumber before anything can go in there.
Correct.
So installation is a big, big deal. I would say if you're wanting to do gutters, to pick a very qualified installation company to do it. And on top of that, right now in the marketplace, it's very hard to get certain colors of gutter material. Just what we're seeing all over the place, there is manufacturing shortages, and it's no different here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unless it's like white or tan, it'll be 6 to 8 months before that material is available. And that's terrible, because at that time, we'll be through the rainy season for 2022.
Correct.
So on top of that, too, like I said earlier, I never understood the difference between letting it fall off the roof and putting it in a downspout and letting it hit the ground. I would say to people, if you're not prepared financially to just do a 10-foot extension of piping to get it away from the foundation, then I probably wouldn't even do it, because you could actually hurt yourself by doing that, and you could induce a foundation issue. Even at my house, I live in a newer house, and it has gutters on it. I think it rained like 2 or 3 times, and I was mowing the yard, and the mower hit that dip right where the downspout was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, great. I know what's coming next. So a lot of people don't think about that, though. I would say 9 out of 10 houses do not have their gutters tied into a drain system.
Really?
It is more important than anybody could possibly think.
Even newer houses, that's a common trend?
Absolutely. And
Wow.
Here's why. There's not an official drainage code in Texas. So it's kind of the, we'll do it if we want to. What I know of new construction homes, these builders are not doing anything that's not absolutely required of them, and this is not required. So why have an added expense? I've even seen some customers that bring us in to evaluate the house to get a benchmark on the foundations, and I bring it up to them, and they go to the builder, and they're willing to pay extra for it, and the builder just won't even do it. They said, well, you need to call a landscape company or call a drainage company to do it. We don't do it. And it's crazy, because you'd think that these builders would get on the page, because if there's enough erosion that goes on, they're responsible under the warranty to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for what this stuff costs, a couple $100, in my opinion, you're crazy not to do it, because it can lead to a multi-$1,000 foundation repair. I mean, do you want to deal with the devil you know or the one that you don't?
Yeah.
I would much rather spend a couple $100 on some drains than multi-thousands on a foundation repair.
You mentioned French drains.
I was just going to add,
Go ahead.
too, that builders have a tendency of putting gutters just on the front for curb appeal, and they won't put it around the rest of the house. That's all I wanted to add in.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I tell you what, and then you guys were talking about the French drain in itself and how you feel that's your favorite option. Tell us a little bit about that. Explain why that is.
Well, a lot of customers call us and they say, hey, I need a drain because when it rains real hard, water's getting into a bedroom or coming in a door or something like that. And it takes a little bit more investigation to figure out that the French drain is the solution. 9 times out of 10 that it is. Mm-hmm. we've gotten to the point to where we put so much of this French drain into the ground that we're mixing up colors in the rock to give it a curb appeal. I mean, kind of the new adage is the black rock to make it cosmetically appealing. And when you're done with this drain, you can't even tell that there's a drain system in it. I mean, we've gotten really good at being able to incorporate this rock system into the landscape that's around the house, and you'd never know.
That's just another added benefit then.
Absolutely. And, this whole modernized architecture that they're doing, it's actually really great stuff. But even when we're just doing it for purely drainage purposes and not doing anything cosmetic, I have literally seen with my own eyes, we put 4 garden hoses in the same exact spot, and it just drains it right out. It doesn't backflow. It doesn't do anything. I mean, this stuff is outstanding. We did a church in Garland that when I walked out there originally to look at it, I kid you not, they had knee-high water behind the building.
Wow.
I mean, it was terrible. I don't know how it went that long. He said it had been happening for years. And when we put this drain in, I've got a picture on our Facebook page. It literally looks like the end of a fire engine hose. That's how much water this thing is moving.
Impressive.
Like at the very end of the pipe, I think it was like 100-something feet run. At the end of the pipe, the water pressure was so high, it was actually blowing the rocks out. And we had to go back and essentially put boulders there to keep it from moving. But that just proves that these drains, I mean, they're practically bulletproof. And my favorite thing, being on the service side of it, is they're maintenance free. We do not get phone calls of drains being not working. I don't think we've ever had one French drain complaint or warranty come back. That's why every time when someone says, "Oh, I need a drain," we go straight to the French drain. And this is a real French drain, not those little catch basins that we talked about. Those are actually catch basins. This is a rock system, perforated pipe system that goes in the ground. That's what I love because the science behind it just makes so much sense that why would you not want to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw the most extreme example, it seems like, and it worked perfectly. So that just tells you you put it through the ringer, I guess you could say.
When I looked at that church job, I'm sitting there looking at it going, man, do we need like 2 or 3 of these things back here?
Yeah.
And the customer looked at us and he said, let's do one and see where that goes. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, is this thing going to really work? We'd never seen it in an application that's that strenuous.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there looking like, oh my gosh, what is going to go on here with this thing? And so I purposely made it an effort like, all right, I'm checking my phone to see when it's going to rain next because I'm going to be there as this thing is going on. And I'm sitting there watching it and I've got a video of it and it's just gushing. And so I walked back there in my weather boots and dry as a bone.
Beautiful.
It was amazing. I mean, you just sit there, you get a smile from ear to ear because you're like, this thing made me a liar. You know, I thought it wasn't going to work, and it proved me wrong.
Well, and we got a quick break coming up. We got one more question we'll get into before we take that quick break, though. You brought up catch basins.
Right.
Let's cover that a little bit. Just explain to the audience what that entails.
So catch basins definitely have their place. I'm not a big fan of them. Once again, it goes back to the maintenance side of it.
And it's easy to, we all are human, and
Exactly.
a lot of people forget. It's easy to forget, so I understand where you're coming from.
And, as a homeowner myself, the last thing I'm worried about is going and cleaning a catch basin.
Absolutely.
It's just not going to happen. Yeah. And so they do have their place, though. And the first thing is they're affordable. They're one of our lower cost options.
Yeah.
But I tell every single person, if you're not going to clean this catch basin out, it's not the product for you, because what's going to happen is in 6 months when it's clogged because you forgot to clean it, you're going to be calling me upset, and I'm going to say, hey, I told you so. So if I can do anything to steer you away from that, I can. With that being said, obviously money does not grow on trees. It's a real world factor. At the same time, they are better than no drainage.
Yeah.
So if that's all you can afford, then that's what you should put in. And, in the age of smartphones, put a timer on your phone every 2 weeks at 3 o'clock on a Wednesday, whatever.
Yeah.
Go out there and clean it out. It's a terrible job, but it's going to save you money if that's the route that you're going to go. Now,
not a bad option, it seems like, if you're willing to put up with the maintenance part of it, I guess you could say.
Right. And what I recommend catch basins is in certain areas where there's just a massive amount of water in a very confined, isolated area. Just because if you think about it, the top side of that catch basin is 9 inches by 9 inches. They make a 12 by 12, but it has a structural deficiency in it. But the 9 by 9 is what we normally put in when we're at a catch basin scenario. And you got to think about it. It's only catching water in a 9x9 area. That's the only place it can physically funnel water through. Versus the French drain, I can funnel water through wherever that pipe is, doesn't matter. So what's a good application for this? I mentioned earlier concrete. If you're redoing a patio, slope your concrete towards that catch basin to where when it does rain, all the water flows there, that catch basin carries it out. Bam, it's good to go. That, or if you just wanted to do something along the backside of a pool or in a flower bed, it would be another good option there just because it's low cost. It's got that maintenance thing once again. I mean, I'll put some pictures up on the Facebook page after this just so that people can see what I'm talking about. I mean, they're caked in mud and leaves when they don't get cleaned out, and they're virtually not working at all.
I don't know if we mentioned before, so go ahead and tell the listeners now, what's your Facebook page?
If you just go to the search bar and type in EcoScape LLC, it's the first one that pops up. And that's a great source for information. A lot of people have never done the type of services that we offer, foundation repair, drainage. And so they don't have an expectation of what to expect. And then they get the project done in the middle of the job, they go, oh my gosh, what did I get myself involved in? And it usually hits people when there's a mound of dirt as tall as they are in their front yard.
Yeah.
The Facebook page shows real-life photos of the work that we do and the end result. When in the middle of the project, part of that freak out is this is never going to go back to the way that it was. And it does change a little bit, but by the time we're done, with the exception of a little disturbed dirt, you can never tell that we were even there.
Remember, folks, we're talking with the gentleman at EcoScape Foundation. We got Matt Burns and Josh Freed in studio today. It's great to have them in. It's ecoscapefoundation.com. That's ecoscapefoundation.com. You can look at their website. You can check out their Facebook page like he was just mentioning. It's updated regularly, folks, so it's a great resource of information for sure. Or you can simply give them a call. It's 972-210-1494. It's 972-210-1494. We got to take a quick break, very quick break. Then we're going to come back, wrap things up, a couple more questions with the guys at EcoScape Foundation. Stay tuned. This is Ask the Experts here on Talk Radio 1190.
EcoScape Foundation and Home Services is an expert foundation repair company offering home improvement services to Dallas-Fort Worth homeowners. Without the proper attention, foundation issues can cause extensive delays or derail what seem like the simplest of renovation projects. At EcoScape, they can quickly diagnose and repair any type of foundation damage, often in as little as a few days. They offer a level of expertise that their competitors can't match, and they tackle any type or size of project for homeowners like you throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they stand behind their work with a no-nonsense limited lifetime warranty for your peace of mind. Don't settle for a foundation repair company that overpromises and underdelivers. Contact EcoScape Foundation today and let them demonstrate why homeowners throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area look to EcoScape Foundation, where financing is available for home upgrades and foundation repairs, by calling them at 972-210-1494. Mention you heard this ad and receive $500 off your project.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It's Ask the Experts here on Talk Radio 1190. We got the gentleman of EcoScape Foundation in studio with us today. If you want to reach out to them for their services, one, you can check their website. It's ecoscapefoundation.com. You can go on their Facebook page. It's got a lot of great information on there, updated regularly, kind of let you know all the cool things that they're doing. And then if you just want to give them a call, it's 972-210-1494. That's 972-210-1494. Let's jump right back into things. We've been talking a lot of good stuff today. What about sump pumps? What exactly is that?
So sump pump is a very specialized application. It's an actual mechanical device that physically pumps water uphill, hence the term sump pump. So I try to stay away from these if I can. Okay. Why? You're introducing a mechanical device into the equation. It is made by human beings. Yeah. There's going to be a day where it doesn't work. So they do have a life expectancy on them.
Just another added factor, right?
Exactly. And, sump pumps, a lot of people aren't paying attention to them. Drainage at all, they're not paying attention to. But the sump pump could have something caught up in the impeller, or it could just have burnt out, and they never know. And then they go out there and it's flooded again. They call us back. We go out there and the pump's bad. Now, thankfully, we work really well with Wayne Pumps, that they offer a really good product that tends to have a longer life than most. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but, longevity is worth something. But what I like to see sump pumps is when the drainage scenario kind of backs you in a corner. So if you've got some of these houses that, like, the front yard is like a hill down towards the front door, obviously all the water is going to drain there.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get water to flow back up that hill? Naturally, you can't. And if somebody's figured it out, let me know, because we need to write a book on it.
Yeah.
But the sump pump is an application so what we do is we use our same drain systems, French drains. We funnel all this water into a submerged 55-gallon drum. This drum, like I said, it's all submerged. You never see it by the time we're done, with an exception of an extension cord sticking out of the ground somewhere.
Well, that's impressive in itself.
Oh, they're cool when they turn on, too,
Yeah.
because once the water hits the outside of that pipe, it's like a fire hose going off. And it kind of, once again, it gives you that smile from ear to ear, because it's just like, man, I built this. This is cool, right? And so in these applications, water goes into the sump. The sump has a float switch on it, so it's not active all the time. When that float switch is triggered, pump kicks on, evacuates all that water out of the sump basin, bam, rinse and repeat, right? So once again, they're very specialized. I try to stay away from a mechanical device. To add, you now have to have an electrical drop put there. And a licensed electrician should be the one to put it in, because it needs a special type of breaker installed with it. But here is the number one downfall to sump pumps. When you lose power, you lose pump capability.
Yeah.
Now, there's backup systems. You know, we've got our own opinions about those. But that's one of the big things is if it's a life or death water situation, like, hey, I got water coming in the house and it's going to cause a huge insurance claim, we try to do everything we can to not use a sump pump. Or the other side of it is if it's not a dire scenario, but running it downhill from a financial perspective doesn't make sense, or just doing a sump pump, well, obviously, let's save some money and do the pump, right? If running 100 feet of exhaust line is cheaper than running 100 feet of 4-inch PVC, well, yeah, mathematically, that makes tons of sense, because the PVC exhaust line that we use for the sump pumps is, I think, like a tenth of the cost of the PVC that we use for the French drains. Now, they do have a little bit of maintenance on it. Once a year, you've got to backflow them, but they're very rare that they ever fail. We had one that we did at a customer's house. I don't know why the builder did this, but they sloped the patio back towards the back door of this customer's house.
Interesting.
So every time it rained, literally their living room would get water in it.
Problems.
So all we did is we busted up some concrete, we put a channel drain in there, fed it into a sump pump, routed it out to the alley, bam. And there's a video on our Facebook page about that too. When it kicks on, it just gushes that water out. And the good thing about these pumps too is you never hear them run. The only time you ever know that they're running is when the alley's got a wet spot in it.
All right, so it seems like overall, what I've gathered, and I think the listeners as well, if you had to recommend, you would recommend probably a French drain.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, but with that being said, this is kind of like the Legos of the drainage world, right?
Yeah.
You can literally build anything. The question is what you're building, is that going to solve the problem, and is that the correct fit for the application? And I think that's where we come in. Drainage is so specialized. Like I said earlier, every single drain is different. There's no two that are the same, I guarantee it. And finding out which concoction of the tools that we have access to is going to solve this problem, it makes it very easy where you can mess it up. And what I'm about to say, I'm not exaggerating at all. 90% of the drains that we put in, we are pulling out old drains in the same exact area that don't work.
Oh, wow.
90%. Why? They usually went with the cheapest bidder. You know, a less qualified company put them in, unfortunately, and they're attracted to the price tag. And a lot of people think, oh, I can get a drain, couple $100, $1,500. Some applications, yeah, you can, but to do things right, that comes with a price, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. Is that's another free service that we offer, which is the sump pump, or not, excuse me, the evaluations to figure out what applications are going to best fit your needs.
All right, we got about a minute and a half left on the show. We've been killing with a lot of stuff, a lot of information. Kind of just wrap it up for us. If there's something that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure you say before, send it off for us.
Well, once again, I hope everybody learned something from the show today. And if you think you're having a drainage problem, I say it every time, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We've got YouTube videos of our podcast now that if you missed the show, you can go back and listen to all the old ones. This one should be up next week. And once again, call us if you got problems, even if you just want to talk. Go visit our Facebook page, look at some pictures. And I encourage everybody, be an expert on this yourself. Companies like us and our competition are going to ask you for a lot of money to solve your problems. Know what you're buying.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you guys back in studio. We'll do it again here soon, hopefully.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. One more time, if you want to reach out to the folks, it's ecoscapefoundation.com. That's a website you can find it at, ecoscapefoundation.com. 972-210-1494. That's 972-210-1494. We got to get out of here. It's been a pleasure talking to everybody. Until next time, this has been another edition of Ask the Experts here on Talk Radio 1190, brought to you by the highly respected and award-winning Shoemaker Mortgage Team. Have a great weekend, folks.